In 1985, the global music landscape shifted with the unexpected emergence of a song that fused infectious synth-pop energy with a unique, tribal-inspired vocal hook. Tarzan Boy, released under the name Baltimora, became a massive international hit, gaining traction across Europe, North America, and Asia. It introduced the world to Jimmy McShane, the face of Baltimora. His animated performances and distinctive dance moves dominated music video channels, making him an instant pop culture figure. But behind the explosive success was a short-lived project built on a fragile foundation, and the man who appeared to lead it would soon disappear under circumstances that remain largely unspoken. Jimmy McShane, born in Northern Ireland, had a background in acting, dance, and performance. He moved to Italy and found work as a session musician and dancer. It was in Italy that he connected with Maurizio Bassi, an Italian producer and songwriter who would become the driving creative force behind Baltimora. The project was never a traditional band. Instead, it was a studio-centric initiative designed for mass appeal in the dance-pop scene of the mid-1980s. McShane was chosen as the frontman. His energetic stage presence made him an ideal figurehead for live appearances and music videos. Although McShane was marketed as the lead vocalist of Baltimora, sources later indicated that many of the vocals on the studio recordings were performed by Bassi himself. McShane's main role was visual representation, performing on television and in videos to promote the music. This approach worked initially. Tarzan Boy soared into the top 20 in the United States, reached the top 10 in several European countries, and received significant radio and television airplay. The track became a symbol of 1980s dance pop. The debut album, Living in the Background, was released shortly after, aiming to capitalize on the momentum. It included tracks such as Woody Boogie and the title song, but none matched the success or cultural footprint of Tarzan Boy. Follow-up singles failed to chart meaningfully in most territories, and the novelty of the act wore off quickly. The public began to lose interest, and by 1986, the spotlight that had been so brightly focused on McShane began to dim. In 1987, a second album titled Survivor in Love was released, but only in select markets like Italy and a few other European territories. It failed to attract attention and lacked any notable commercial success. No major promotional campaigns supported it, and no tour followed. With no additional hits and no clear path forward, Baltimora dissolved quietly. There was no official statement, no farewell performance, and no transition into a new phase. The project ended as abruptly as it had begun. After the collapse of Baltimora, Jimmy McShane retreated from the public eye. Unlike other artists who transitioned to acting, producing, or solo careers, McShane made no effort to remain in the entertainment industry. His disappearance from the spotlight was complete. He returned to Italy and lived a private life, largely removed from media attention. For years, his whereabouts and activities were not publicly known. It later emerged that McShane had been diagnosed with AIDS in the early 1990s. He remained out of the public sphere throughout his illness. On March 29, 1995, McShane died at the age of 37 in Milan. His death received limited coverage in the mainstream media. By the time of his passing, Tarzan Boy had already become a nostalgic reference point rather than a current hit, and Baltimora as a musical entity was no longer active or discussed. The producer behind Baltimora, Maurizio Bassi, continued working in music behind the scenes, but never revived the project. Baltimora became categorized as a one-hit wonder, a fleeting entry in the music archives of the 1980s. The image of Jimmy McShane dancing energetically on stage remained the only lasting memory of an act that had promised much, but faded quickly. Baltimora's rise was sudden and shaped by a single track's unexpected success. But the fall was defined by a lack of structural support, absence of artistic continuity, and the silent, personal suffering of its frontman. McShane's role in Baltimora was never fully understood by the public. As the face of a synthetic pop project, he carried the weight of fame without the foundation of long-term artistic control. His departure was not the result of scandal, but of a manufactured career that offered no future once the commercial momentum vanished. Today, Tarzan Boy continues to circulate in pop culture, often disconnected from the story of the man who brought it to life on stage. The truth behind Baltimora's collapse lies not in a dramatic fall from grace, but in the quiet disappearance of an artist whose presence was shaped by others and whose legacy remains largely unacknowledged.